Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike, running solo once again. If you listened to the podcast last week, you know that Beth and Maria, our daughter, were getting ready to go on a trip. They come back today. I'm recording this on Friday morning. They'll be back tonight around 7, and next week you'll get to hear all about their trip. Beth didn't want to spoil it, but I will tell you that this was an international trip. I know that's shocking, but Maria and Beth took off and went to another country for the last week. And so they're flying back into the country, and they should be home tonight, back by around 7 o'clock. But for right now, it's just me. And so I'm going to be recording this by myself. The last time I had the pod by myself, I dove into a topic that I love to discuss, that Beth hates, or at least she publicly says she hates, although privately she's always drilling me for information. But I love talking about a good conspiracy theory. And so a couple weeks ago, I was able to do a conspiracy theory podcast, the first one I've ever done, and it got quite the reaction. It was fun. We had a lot of feedback from people, either emails or on our Facebook page or text. And so it was cool to kind of throw that out there. And so I'm going to give you a little recap, because what I did was I put up a Facebook poll, and I went over the 6 conspiracy theories that I thought were the most interesting, that I thought most people would kind of want to talk about. And I kind of put those up, and I said, which ones do you believe? And I messed up. I'll say that. Facebook, their default is you can only vote for one thing on a poll. But you can set it to where people can vote for multiple things. I forgot to change that. So I did have people vote, and then they followed that up with some comments that were like, man, I would have voted for more if I could have. So there's no telling, I guess, where this, which ones people really, if they could have voted for several, where it would have landed. So what my assumption is right now are these are the ones that people believe the most. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into that. So which conspiracy theories do you believe? This is based off the last show that we did on conspiracy theories. I said the JFK assassination, moon landing, aliens / Area 51, 9/11, flat earth, or weather modification. So you can kind of go back and hear my description of those 6 things. I will say that the same thing I did last time is what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to just simply give a conspiracy theory, and then I have a 4-part rating system. I'm either going to say it's no way, I'm going to say it's possible, I'm going to say it's probable, or I'm going to say yes, absolutely, 100%. So no, obviously 100% not. Yes, 100% yes. Possibly, to me, that means it's, 1 to 50, 1% to 50%. To say it's probable means it's 51% to 99%. So that's kind of the percentage breakdown. So JFK assassination. This is voting by our listeners. Lots of people voted in this. Do you believe this? 30% of people said yes, they believe the JFK assassination did not happen the way that it was portrayed to us at the time and over the years. They believe the JFK assassination was not correct. The moon landing. The moon landing is fake, that it did not happen the way that it was portrayed on television. This is not saying we've never been to the moon. This is just saying back when Buzz and his boys landed on the moon and they somehow called the president on a landline. In the videos we saw, that was not real. 21% of people said they do not believe the moon landing happened the way that we were told. Aliens, Area 51. Do aliens exist? Is Area 51 somehow connected to the aliens? This one, 30%. So it's tied with JFK assassination. So those are the top 2 in our poll. Those are the top 2 most popular conspiracy theories that people believe, that the JFK assassination did not happen the way we were told, and aliens do exist. Now, Beth and I got into an argument over this. She wants to call an alien any kind of like living organism, like it could be an amoeba, like whatever, a bacteria. It could be any of these things. That's not what I'm talking about. You know what we're talking about here. We're talking about aliens. We're talking about intelligent life. I'm not saying they're more intelligent than us or less. I'm just saying that these are the things that sci-fi movies are made about. That there's, little green men and women walking around, legs, arms, heads, mouth, whatever, that they're doing things. They have a civilization. They have things like that. So 30% of the people said yes. 9/11. Did 9/11 happen the way that we were told, or was there something more devious? Was it an inside job? Was it another country that was involved? 14% of people said yes, they believed 9/11 did not happen the way that we were told it was happening. Next, weather modification. I talked about chemtrails. I talked about cloud seeding. You see these streaks in the skies. It's not always been that way. Growing up, you would see these big, fluffy white clouds. You would rarely see this streak behind a plane, but that's all you see now. And you see it just zigzagging all over the place. And then lo and behold, a day or two later, you get some type of weather disturbance. So that's what I kind of threw it out as, weather modification. 4% are with me. 4% said, yeah, I think there's weather modification going on. And then last but certainly not least, flat Earth. Again, this is not saying the Earth is, this flat plane of, that is, I don't know how, it's not like glass, you know what I'm saying? But, is there something, if you believe that the Earth is flat, then you're going to believe that the sun and the moon do not operate the way that we've been told. So it kind of changes your whole thought process on what our solar system is really like. And 1%. 1% of people said, I believe in flat Earth. So there you have it. So I guess if you were ranking them, JFK and aliens were tied. Next, you had the moon landing. Next, you had 9/11. Next, you had weather modification. And last was flat Earth. Let's see here. Some of the comments that were made. Someone said, I'm afraid to vote on this one. I can't really say just one because I believe all conspiracies are possible. And I definitely believe in the evil corporate overlords idea. Yes. And then someone else said, my most believed is actually the pandemic was planned intentionally. Ooh, that's juicy because I'm going to get into that today. We're going to talk about the pandemic or the plandemic, as some people call it. Other people said, I would have voted for JFK and weather modifications. Someone else said 9/11 and weather modifications. Someone else said, I believe more than one of these also. Someone else said, hey, maybe at our church, we should start a new small group, coffee and conspiracy conversations. That sounds juicy. Someone else said they are all in on JFK, aliens, 9/11, and COVID. Someone else said, don't let me get started on COVID. Somebody else said, I would have voted for every single one of them if I could have. So that's just a sampling. That's just some of the conspiracy theory fans that chimed in on our last podcast. But I wanted to today, before I got into our next six, there's a couple of things that I wanted to get into. First of all, I got a little pushback on what a conspiracy theory is. I had a couple people say, look, like the JFK assassination, they were saying that's no longer a conspiracy theory because there's been papers that have been released. There's been enough stuff that's come out. Everyone knows that, or at least most people believe that there's something else at play there. Well, it's still a conspiracy theory because we don't have that definitive answer from our government. Our government knows what happened. And for the most part, they're still beating the drum or they're just trying to bury it. So I want to give you a definition of conspiracy theory. The definition of conspiracy theory is this. It is a belief that some influential or controlling organization or group is secretly responsible for a notable event or phenomenon. I'm going to say that again. A belief that some influential or controlling organization or group is secretly, and that's the key word here, secretly responsible for a notable event or phenomenon. That is the idea of a conspiracy theory. So with that being said, one of the things that I found this past week as I was getting ready for the podcast is I found a poll that is the 10 most believed conspiracy theories. The 10 most believed conspiracy theories based on this poll. This was done by thousands of people, it looked like, had chimed in on this. I'm going to say this. The 6 that I went over a couple of weeks ago, 5 of the 6 are in the top 5. I feel vindicated. I feel like, obviously, I have my thumb on the pulse of conspiracies. 5 of my 6 are in the top 5. And my 6th one is in the top 10. And I'm kind of surprised it wasn't a little higher. But anyhow, these are the top 10 most believed conspiracy theories. Number 1, the moon landing was fake. That is the number 1 most believed conspiracy theories, according to this poll done by thousands of people across the country. Number 2, the JFK cover-up. Number 3, 9/11. Number 4, chemtrails. And remember, on my poll, that was next to last. But universally, that's number 4 for most believed conspiracy theories. Number 5, flat Earth. Again, I feel vindicated. A lot of people laughed at me for even putting flat Earth on there. Who would believe flat Earth? Whatever. And it only got 1% of the vote on my poll, which maybe screams something about our listeners that they need to open their minds a little more and just say something may be possible. But flat Earth is number 5 on the most believed conspiracy theories. Now the next 5. Number 6, global elite control. That was mentioned in one of the comments that we had, that they believe there's some kind of corporate global elite that's kind of behind the scenes doing some things. Number 7, anti-vaccine microchips. That's probably the one I would say no, I don't think that's happening. Number 8, they had the Illuminati. I would lump the Illuminati and global elite control into one. I don't know why they have that separate, because it's pretty much the same thing. You're saying that there's a group of people. A lot of people say it's the Freemasons. Other people say it's the head of all these corporations, these billionaires that have run things. You even go back as far as like the Vanderbilts or the Rockefellers, people like that had a lot of money and say in what goes on and what's being taught to people. Anyway, I would lump those together. Number 9, Area 51. I can't believe that, and maybe because they didn't say aliens, I don't know, but I can't believe that was not higher. But Area 51 is number 9, and number 10, COVID-19. COVID-19. So those are the 10 most believed conspiracy theories. That's according to this poll. So now, we'll get ready to get into mine. And again, I'm going to use the same scoring system that I used last time. No, possible, probable, and yes. And so I caught a lot of grief because I gave flat Earth possible. Now, I may be at 1 or 2% possible, but I'm saying it's possible. So some of these, you're going to get the same thing. Some of these may be brand new theories that you've never heard about before, and that's okay. I mean, that's what I'm here to do today. I'm here to educate. I'm here to educate everyone on what the mainstream media does not want you to hear or believe. I understand that just talking about these may put my life in danger. we'll see what happens after this. If we have men in black suits show up at my door with, little things to erase my memory, or all of a sudden disappear. We'll see. But we're going to go kind of deep into a couple of these, and we're going to see. So here we go. We'll see here. Number one, we're going to do cryptids. Cryptids. This is your Bigfoot, your Loch Ness Monster, your Yeti, your Mothman, your, Kubachara, or however they pronounce it. Like, it's those things. It's these creatures that people truly believe in their hearts that they exist, that there are Bigfoot or Yetis walking around our forest, that Loch Ness has some type of sea creature in it, that this Loch Ness monster does exist. It's just animals here on this earth. They're not aliens. They're from a species maybe that's long been extinct. Somehow a few of them have survived and they've been in hiding. So where do I stand on cryptids? I'm going to say it's possible. I'm not saying it's probable, and I'm not saying yes. I'm not ready. My hesitancy with the cryptids, why do we not have more evidence now? We get these grainy pictures of Bigfoot. We get these grainy pictures of Loch Ness Monster. But there's enough people that have been out searching and they find, a footprint allegedly, or hair allegedly, or they hear a sound that they never heard before from a creature. But why can't we capture one? And I'm going to say right now, if cryptids are real, I hope they never get found, because humans are terrible people. We would just capture this thing. We would experiment on it, study it, probably try to clone it. I mean, who knows what? This creature's life would be miserable. And maybe they've caught some cryptids, and maybe that's what's in Area 51. I don't know. But this is one that Beth would say absolutely yes. She is all in on cryptids. Beth has visited the, I think it's called like the International Cryptid Research Facility. I think it's up in Maine. Beth has gone there. I mean, I'm telling you, she's all about some cryptids. We've gone to a really big, nice one out in Colorado. We were out there vacationing one time and found out about this. I guess it's the state one, but it's really nice. And it's run by a guy who swears he's had run-ins with Bigfoot. We have one here in North Carolina. There's a cryptozoology museum, and Beth and I have gone to there and talked to the guy who ran it. And he wholeheartedly believes in his heart that he has had experiences with Bigfoot. And so that's there. Beth and I, many years ago, took a trip to Scotland and spent a week just kind of driving around the island. And one of the places we went was Loch Ness. So Beth and I have stood on the banks of Loch Ness looking over this massive body of water, looking for the Loch Ness Monster. And we did not see it. But I'll say this. I can see how people can stand on the cliffs of Loch Ness and look at that water and think they see something. This body of water is massive. There's a constant breeze. So it's not like a lake that you would see, I've never seen before, where it's pretty calm, unless there's a storm. There's constant waves. There's constant ripples in this thing. And so it's easy to look out there and think you see something. Loch Ness is also, it's a large body of water but it's not like a great lake as far as what you would say square miles, but it's deep. Supposedly you can take every lake in Scotland and it will fit in Loch Ness, because Loch Ness is so deep. And so that's where the theory is that this creature lives in the bottom of Loch Ness and occasionally will come up. And but But I don't know. Cryptids are fun to think about. They're fun to make movies about. There's been lots of movies about them, but I'm only going to give that a possible. And so to me, it's just as likely as flat Earth, in my opinion. That Bigfoot and flat Earth, if one exists, the other one probably does too. But they're possible. I'm going to say that. One that I wanted to touch on several weeks ago, or months ago, actually, when this was hot in the news, and Beth was like, absolutely not. It's too volatile. You can't talk about it. I feel like now we can because, 3 or 4 months has gone by. That's the Charlie Kirk assassination. We all know who Charlie Kirk is now. Everybody has an opinion on Charlie Kirk. Everyone's divided on Charlie Kirk. You either loved him or totally disagreed with him. I don't want to say hate him, but there was definitely, he's very divisive in who he was and how he went about, what some people would call his job. Some people would call his ministry. Some people would call his passion. We've all seen the videos on college campuses where he was, arguing with students and, he was able to build this empire of Turning Point USA. And then back in September, I believe it was, he was assassinated. They caught the kid that allegedly did the shooting. This thing to me, it just stunk from the beginning. It just did not seem legit. And there's, just to break down some really quick stuff, you get some kid it's kind of like when President Trump got shot. Or maybe he didn't. Back when last summer, or whenever it was, when he was running for president, that guy was just some kid, like some young guy. He doesn't have any, sharpshooter experience. The odds of him hitting Trump at all was slim to none, but yet Trump got shot. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. This guy has some gun. And I'm not a gun guy. I've read all about this gun now. It is a gun that everyone who has used it says would blow a hole in an elephant. Like, it's just a big gun. And the gun that he had was an older version of this gun, which is even more difficult to shoot, more difficult to break down, more difficult to put back together. And so we're told that this kid acted alone, that he gets this old gun that shouldn't even be used for a situation like this. If he was truly a sharpshooter and was trying to shoot someone from a good ways away, it's not even a gun you would use. He hits Charlie Kirk just right. And Charlie Kirk dies. The kid is able to get away. He breaks down the gun. He runs. Then all of a sudden he puts the gun back together. He hides it in some bushes. And then he goes, he writes his lover this long letter that sounds like something, out of medieval times or out of like the Civil War that you're writing to your love back home. Like, my dearest love, I am a fortnight away from you, or whatever. It was just ridiculous. And, the kid got arrested and we haven't heard anything since. So what's the conspiracy theory there? Obviously, the kid didn't do it. The kid was maybe set up. He was a CIA operative that they brainwashed, that he thought he was going to be part of something, and all they did was use it to pin something on him. Where he was at, the trajectory of the bullet that hit Charlie Kirk, doesn't even make sense. There's all this stuff that happened afterwards where, like, as soon as it happened, certain people ran and started taking down cameras. Those cameras have never been found again. The next day, they bulldozed the site and paved over it. That's kind of crazy. Like, when does a crime scene get destroyed less than 24 hours later? So anyway, fortunately, I have a friend. He will remain nameless, who's in the FBI. And I am serious about this. He's retired military. After he retired from the military, he went to work for the FBI, doing contract work. he's worked on some pretty big things, and he would share what he could with me, but a lot of times he would just say, I can't talk about that. So when the Charlie Kirk thing went down, it was about a month before I saw him again. And so we were just talking. I said, let me ask you something. I said, and you can tell me I can't talk about it. That's fine. I said, but I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, and you just nod or shake your head or just say, I can't talk about it. I said, did the Charlie Kirk assassination happen the way that we're being told it happened? He said, absolutely not. I was like, really? I mean, this was definitive. And I said, well, okay, well, one of the theories is that Israel has something to do with it. And I was like, what do you think? He said, no. He said, Israel did not have anything to do with this. I was like, okay. So I just said, well, who did it? This is his opinion. He said, it was an inside job. He said, somebody from Charlie's inner circle put this together. And he said, look at the video. Look at this person. Look at this person. Look at this person. He started pointing out stuff. And then since then, as the video has been broken down, people are highlighting exactly what he told me just a couple weeks after the assassination. And he was like, it was an inside job. And I said, well, why isn't the FBI doing something about it? And he was like, we can only do so much right now. And he's like, but it was an inside job. So there you go. So I'm going to say the Charlie Kirk assassination absolutely was a cover-up. It did not happen the way he said. That kid sitting in the jail cell was not responsible. And so there you go. The Charlie Kirk. So we knocked out cryptids, Charlie Kirk. Next on my list, and I'm going to go through, this one won't take a whole lot of time. Look this up. There's a meteor, and it's called 3I Atlas. And it's a meteorite that scientists and NASA have been tracking for a while now. And it's drawn a lot of attention because it's doing some weird stuff. It's not doing what any meteorite has ever done before since NASA's been following meteorites. It's making weird movements. It's doing some things that almost make it look like it's being maneuvered by something else, which has led to the conspiracy that this is not a meteorite, that this is actually some type of spaceship. And so they've been tracking this thing. It's gone through our solar system, around the sun. It's supposed to be, I think, the closest to Earth. I think originally, I don't know if they've changed it or not yet, was going to be like December 17th. It's kind of the date. Originally, they thought that it was going to be pretty close to Earth. But what they have, and you can look this up, this is on the NASA website. This isn't some crazy loon, tinfoil-hat wearing person in his mom's basement making this up. You can go to the NASA website, nasa.gov, type in 3I Atlas, and it will bring up this thing. What they know is it is made up of material never seen before. That is some type of alloy, some type of metal that is not from Earth. They absolutely know this. Another interesting thing that NASA did very quietly a few weeks ago is, for the first time in our history, they have a, it's something, I should have looked it up. It's called like the Planetary Defense something. I don't know. But it is basically, if they feel like there's a threat coming from outer space, be it a meteorite heading toward Earth or a spaceship, they have defense mechanisms in place to be ready for such a time as that. And it's called like the Planetary Defense System or something like that. But for the first time in our history, they initiated that about a month ago. They kicked that in. And so right now we are very quietly, NASA has turned that on, and they are keeping eyeballs on this meteorite. And I'll use that with quotation marks. I'm not sure what I believe about that. Is it possible that it's an alien spacecraft? Yes, I think it's possible. Is it probable? I'm not ready to say that. I think that it's a chunk of something that came from somewhere that's not from around here. So anyway, look that up. That's a fun one right now. That's not getting a lot of media attention, but our government and NASA are all over it. And you can go to very reliable sources and look that up. There is a professor at Harvard University, a doctor there, that's a professor that believes wholeheartedly this is an alien spacecraft. And he's put out a bunch of stuff as to why he believes this. Now, he can be just as crazy as the guy or chick in their mom's basement wearing the tinfoil hat. But, the fact that he's a Harvard professor, it leans a little bit of weight, So anyway, look that up, Three-Eye Atlas. So now we've covered Charlie Kirk, the cryptids, Three-Eye Atlas. This one, some folks asked for it, the pandemic. I think it's very clear now we were not told certain things about the pandemic. I think that I do not think that the COVID-19 was, produced the way they said it was produced or the way we were told. I think it was created in some type of biological warfare laboratory, probably over in China or somewhere. And there was some type of leak, and it got out and it started making its way across the world. I think those in charge saw this as an opportunity to gain control. I think that you got to remember, this is 2020. It was a hot election year. There was all kinds of stuff going on that year. It was nuts. I mean, there's stuff that happened that year that people don't even know about because in any given year, it would have been a big story, but it just got kind of pushed aside because 2020 was such a crazy year. And I think there were some world leaders that used the pandemic to their political advantage. I think there was companies that used the pandemic to their financial advantage, with vaccines and mandates and all of those things. I just don't think we were told the truth. And I absolutely believe that. All the things that they said was going to happen really didn't happen. And now you look and all these vaccines that they forced on us in 2020, most of them are not even allowed right now. There's health issues that are coming out because of them. There's, that this pandemic will be studied 100 years from now, and it's going to be looked at. And, it's funny. There's sometimes people will post pictures of what people were wearing, their homemade mask, or there's that famous picture of like an orchestra, like a high school orchestra, and every kid is wearing a mask, but the masks all have holes in them where their mouths go and they're playing their instruments. There's pictures of people at Walmart, wherever, wrapped in plastic bags. And it's just, they used fear in such a way that it just brought our entire world to a halt. And I don't think it'll ever happen again, not in the lifetime of the people who lived through it. I don't think that they would ever, if they tried to enforce those mandates now, I think enough people, overwhelmingly are like, we're not doing this again. And I would even bet there would be some civil wars breaking out. And I'm not saying in our country, but in other countries, if the governments and big pharma tried to manipulate the system again. So, I mean, the pandemic was rough. I mean, yeah, people died with COVID. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people passed away. I think most passed away with it, not from it. I think a lot of people had other illnesses. They had other things going on, and COVID absolutely pushed that over the edge, 100%. But man, I think we were manipulated that year. And I think we can all look back and say, you know, it did more harm than good. You look at, I mean, it's another podcast for another day, but just what it's done to kids, you know, kids that lived through COVID that were in high school, middle school, elementary school at the time. And I mean, you know, talking like 9th grade down, you know, maybe 10th grade down. I mean, they're still suffering from that. I mean, it just did. It stunted emotional growth. There was a tremendous increase in suicides. It's crazy. And so all of this because I think some people wanted to take advantage of a situation. So it's sad, but we're over it now. We're past it. We're moving on. We'll look back and, you know, see something a little different, maybe, as we look back at it. But anyhow, that's my feeling on the pandemic. That absolutely, yes, there was more going on than what they told us. So, last two. One's kind of fun, and one probably ranks right up there with currently what you would call ridiculous. As you know, I got a lot of pushback on the old the flat earth, you know, just kind of describing some of that last time. But here's two more theories. I'll do the one that might be a bit more controversial first. That is, oil is not a fossil fuel. This is something I never thought about until this year. And I heard a podcast about it, and I started doing a little research. I listened to more podcasts about it. And it's actually a growing theory. You know, we've been told, we as everybody, that oil comes from, kind of a traditional biogenetic organic theory where it comes from ancient marine life, like plankton or algae buried under heat and pressure and so on. And we call them fossil fuels. And there's a limited amount. And once it's gone, it's gone. And they use this to keep oil prices at a certain rate that we're all willing to pay because we all want to drive places. We want to fly places. We want things. Everything comes down to oil. And so we've been given this theory that oil is finite, that there's a limited supply, and they have to control the supply, and they're doing it for our best interest. But there is a theory called the my scientific friends are going to yell at me for butchering this. I think it's abiogenic petroleum origin hypothesis is the name of it. And that is the hypothesis that oil is not fossil fuel. I'm going to put it in layman's terms. Oil is basically the blood of the earth. That just like as humans, we have veins flowing through us with blood pumping through us, that there is oil flowing throughout these veins under the earth's surface. And it's not finite. It's infinite. That there's pools of oil. There's huge bodies of oil that they found underneath the surface. And that the idea is that we're never going to run out of this. That this is something that at the core of the earth is being produced. And it's produced constantly, just like your body is producing blood and it's pumping blood and it's flowing through. That you have this abigenic theory that it's not fossil fuel. And that explains really like where we get a lot of this stuff. I'm having to pause right now because I'm actually at my office. Let me see here. Somebody showed up, but I don't know who they are. We're going to pause this. I'm going to go check it out. I'll be right back. So y'all just chew on that for a minute. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm here at my office working today, doing the podcast and doing some office work. And so I heard someone come in and the door was locked. And so I had to see who that was that made their way into the building. So anyway, I went and took care of that. So anyway, back to the oil as being the blood of the earth. So the idea is that there are these veins that run through the earth and that it's unlimited. And there, you can look this up. There's lots of videos, podcasts about this. It is a growing theory that maybe they were wrong about fossil fuels. And again, I'm saying it's possible. I might even lean probable. I'm probably at 50% on the oil being the blood of the earth thing. It's 50-50 for me right now. The fossil fuels never really made sense to me. This makes more sense, So anyway, last and final conspiracy theory. And this is one that is just for fun. I'm not saying that, you've got to buy into this or not. But I'd never heard of this theory until about a year ago. That is the theory that Jimi Hendrix faked his death and came back as Morgan Freeman, the actor. Yes, Morgan Freeman from Shawshank Redemption, Morgan Freeman from a million other movies, the Morgan Freeman that we love to hear his voice. We are, led to believe they're two different people. There is a conspiracy that they're one and the same. And so, the reason for this theory is that I guess friends of Jimmy said that he was burned out and tired of being a musician, that he wanted to get into other entertainment avenues, but did not think that he would be taken seriously as an actor, as Jimi Hendrix. So he faked his death, and then lo and behold, not too long after that, Morgan Freeman pops up on the scene. You go and you look at pictures, old pictures from, we'll say, early 70s, pictures that you have of Morgan Freeman, a young actor, and Jimi Hendrix. I forgot how old was he when he died, like 27, or allegedly died. There's a lot of similarities. A lot. They look a lot alike. And so I just thought that was a fun one. That's one that I had never heard before. And it's out there. And it's out there, for people to see. There also has been times when supposedly people said that Morgan Freeman has been caught or has admitted he played guitar. There's even arguments, is Morgan Freeman left or right-handed? People claim that they've seen him do both. So, I don't know, man. That's just a fun one. I'm going to say it's possible. I'm going to put it in the 1 percentile. So I think Flat Earth, Bigfoot, and Jimi Hendrix is really Morgan Freeman all have about a 1% chance of being real. So there you go. Look it up. Jimi Hendrix and Morgan Freeman are the same person, or are they not? Lots of similarities, body size, age, all this kind of stuff, that's interesting. And, while we're on this, as far as celebrities go, another fun one to look into at some point is Stevie Wonder. Is Stevie Wonder really blind? There is a famous video that's it's not AI. It's been out for 30 years of Stevie Wonder standing on stage and a microphone stand falling, and he catches it. like reaches out and grabs it before it finishes falling. There's been so many reports that he can see, that he's not 100%, and he may be now at this point in his life 100% blind, but that he was able to see more than he led on to, or that they wanted us to believe, because it made for better publicity to say, hey, here's a little blind kid, little Stevie Wonder. Look at the way he can play and sing, and he's blind. So I don't know. That's another one that's kind of fun to look into. Is Stevie really blind or not? Is Jimi Hendrix Morgan Freeman? I don't know. But those are just, so conspiracy theories don't always have to be heavy. They don't always have to be, having to deal with pandemics or 9/11 or assassinations. Conspiracy theories can be somewhat fun. And I think the key word that you have to remember when you're talking about any conspiracy theory, the word is maybe. Maybe. What if we approach life looking through the lens of maybe more than absolute yes and no? There's a lot of people in this world that have closed themselves off to a lot of things because they can't say maybe. I see this in church. I'm a full-time minister. I've been in ministry almost 30 years and run into people who absolutely wholeheartedly believe that there's not a God, or if there is a God, there is no Jesus, or, all of the stuff that you read about in the Bible that, it can't be true. But what if they approach it as maybe? Maybe it is. Like, how much in our life can we really say absolutely not? And whether it's a conspiracy theory or whether it's just having a conversation with a friend that you have differing views on, if that's when friendships end. You look at it, that's what I hated most about COVID, is people who knew nothing about science. I saw it in my own church, like people who knew nothing, but all of a sudden they knew absolutely the vaccines were good or the vaccines were bad. You should wear mask or shouldn't wear mask. All of these things became absolute, and friendships got shattered and relationships broken that still haven't been mended. And what if they would have just approached it as maybe? Maybe the vaccines aren't good for us. Maybe the vaccines are good for us. Maybe we should wear masks. Maybe we don't need to wear masks as much as they say we do. That word maybe leaves the door open for growth. Just that word maybe leaves the door open for your mind and just to be more receptive and more open and more at peace. Like the people that I know that are like the angriest about things are the ones that are just so dogmatic, like absolute, this is the way it has to be. I'm going to pick on my Calvinist friends. Calvinism is a theological term. That's the belief that things are predestined, that God has orchestrated everything and everything is done for a reason, and man has no free will. And what's wild is like, and so if you believe that, you're a Calvinist, and I have some good Calvinist friends, but I'm going to be honest with you, they are the angriest friends I have when it comes to religion. Like, they get so bent out of shape when somebody even suggests that anything could be other than Calvinism. They won't even explore the idea of maybe. The other side of the coin is Arminianism. And to be Arminian means that you believe that God gives us free will, that life is not predestined, that everybody has free will and free choice. And in full transparency, that's what I believe. I am full Arminian. And if people were to ask me, are you saying that God doesn't know what's going to happen? Absolutely not. I think God knows the result of every decision you will ever make in your life. He lets you make it, though. He knows what happens if you turn left. He knows what's going to happen if you turn right. And so he knows the results of what would happen in every decision in your life. So he is all-knowing, but he gives us free will. And that's where the maybe comes in. And there's beauty and freedom in the word maybe. Maybe God does give us free will. Maybe things aren't as black and white as we make them out to be. Maybe Jimi Hendrix is Morgan Freeman. Maybe assassinations are often an inside job. Maybe the world is flat. Now, that degree of maybe can be 1 to 99. That's for you to decide. But, man, the older I get, I just find it harder and harder to say something is absolute, especially absolute. No, this could never happen. Or no, it didn't happen that way, or whatever. Yes, it happened. To believe certain things. I think most of my life now falls between possibly and probably. And that's where I think it's healthiest. And hopefully, like I said, these conspiracy theories are fun to talk about and fun to look at. But what it boils down to is the flexibility of your mind. Are you safe enough and comfortable enough just to say maybe? Yeah, maybe. Possibly. Probably. Man, how much more fun would life be if that's how we approach life? So anyway, if y'all have any more conspiracy theories, that's it for me. I went over 12 and even gave you a bonus Stevie Wonder 13. So if there are other ones you want to listen to, let me know and I'll get on it. So email the podcast, go on the Facebook page, let me know what you would like to hear next. And the next time Beth's out of town, maybe I'll jump all over that. But again, Beth will be back next week. We'll get to hear all about her trip. And anyway, hope y'all have an awesome week. Merry Christmas to everybody as Christmas is quickly approaching. We are just under 2 weeks. And so anyway, have a great 2 weeks and we'll see you later.